at work, you're working hard to get the work finished, and if you have any questions prior to that, make sure you're asking to get everything clarified. And then expected behaviors is just what we do every day. Okay, listening and respecting and being safe. Okay, we're going to get started. On Friday, we took that pretest. And I know a lot of you were like, oh man, I don't know this stuff. And I heard a couple of people say like, oh yes, we're going to learn new things that I don't know. So that was really exciting to hear. I was happy to hear that. Like, there's excitement when we don't know something and we're excited. But actually, when I graded the pretest, you guys knew a little bit more probably than you thought. And it was interesting to see what you were thinking, because a lot of you had the same thinking on some of the problems. So it was really interesting. That's really helpful. Sometimes. On one problem, yes, almost everybody had it. And on the other problem, it was like everybody had the same thinking, but it was like this close to being right on. So that was good to see. Okay, we're moving into algebraic equations. And I have the standard up on the wall over there as to where we get the our essential question. And we'll see that. I'm going to show a PowerPoint. We'll see that in the PowerPoint. But today we're going to watch a PowerPoint. And while we watch that PowerPoint, we're going to fill out the graphic organizer on your desk. And then we're going to do a little vocab activity, because this is one of the topics that's a struggle with vocab. For some reason, throughout the year, last year, even towards the end, some of the vocab was really tough. So we're going to do an activity, and hopefully that will like etch it into your memory. Like, I remember doing this activity. I remember that word. And then we're going to do a partner activity where you're just with the person next to you doing a little activity. And finally, we'll end up with a matching activity where you're going to work on some of your own problems, and we'll turn that in for your exit ticket. And then we'll wrap up. So let's get started. I'm going to show the PowerPoints, and then I'll let you know when to grab your graphic organizer that's on your desk, and we'll fill that out as we go. Okay, algebraic expressions. This is chapter 3. Real quick, can someone read the standard? It starts right here. Tanner?
Write, read, and evaluate expressions in which letters stand for numbers. Evaluate expressions at specific values of their variable.
Okay, great. Thank you. And that's what we're going to work on today. Looking at expressions, then we're going to do a little bit of evaluating. Can someone else raise your hand and read the essential question and the today I will? Carrie.
How can you write and evaluate an algebraic expression? Today I will read and evaluate algebraic expressions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so as you might remember from the pretest, this is what an algebraic expression might look like. It has a mathematical expression. I think that got caught under there. It contains variables, and variables are usually letters, and there's examples, X, Y, H. Operations, plus, minus, multiplication, division. And remember, multiplication can also be the X sign and parentheses. And then what we're going to learn, which is something that confused a lot of us in the pretest, when you see a number right next to a variable, that implies multiplication. So I think a lot of you are going to say, oh, now I get it, because when you plugged in the value for X, it was like 6, and you thought, okay, this was 36 plus 5, right? A lot of you thought that. So that was actually a thing that a lot of us thought. But now we're going to know, after we learn, this would mean 3 times X, or 3 times 6 if 6 was the value for X. Okay, and then also they contain numbers. Numbers are also called constants. So the 5 here in this expression would be that constant. All right, here's some vocabulary. And if you remember from the first 2 questions on the pretest, we had some vocab questions. What is a term? What's a coefficient? What's a variable? What's a constant? So in this problem, the terms would be the entire portion before and after the math operation. So 5x is a term, and 3 is a term. And let's say there was another math operation and another term. All those would be terms. So this is a term, and this is a term. A coefficient is the number that is with the variable. So just 5 is the coefficient. The variable is the letter. That stands for a number that we don't know. But oftentimes we're given a value, and then we put it into that variable. And then a constant is just the number by itself because it doesn't change. It's just 3 in this problem. It doesn't change. So that's a constant. Okay, we're going to work with this expression, 5x plus 2. You guys all have that on your graphic organizer. So let's get your graphic organizer out and take a look at that. On your graphic organizer, somebody raise your hand and tell me, what is the coefficient? It's the white paper. You got it. Okay. Peyton? Oh, bigger. Number 5. That's the coefficient, right? Yeah. Okay, so someone raise your hand and tell me what's the variable. Piper? X. What's the math operation, Alex? So the plus sign or adding, right? And the constant? Zach? All right, you guys got this down. Okay, so on your graphic organizer, I would like you guys to fill out the blank boxes underneath for what is a term, and then the larger one is asking you what is the entire thing. So what is a term, and what's the entire thing called? So right now, if you'll fill out that graphic organizer, and you're placing in there what is a term and what the entire thing is called. Okay, where those little boxes are, you see where you have these little boxes underneath on your organizer? You're filling in what's a term, and then the entire thing. What's it called? So this entire thing, 5x plus 2, what's that called? And you're filling that in the empty box. Okay, somebody raise your hand and tell me what you labeled as a term. What did you label as a term? Matt?
A term is a number written without a variable in multiplied digits.
Okay, and what is it exactly on there?
The constant of
So the 2 is a term, right? What's another term? The 2 is a term because that's after the addition sign. So what's another term? Taylor?
5.
The 5 with the x, right, the variable. So 5x is a term and 2 is a term. So remember, a term is the entire part before and after the math operation. So 5x is a term and 2 is a term. So you should have that labeled. And then what is the entire thing, 5x plus 2, what is the entire thing called? Jet? Algebraic expression. Good. Okay, so we're going to look at a couple examples. And I just put a couple examples up here. So 4x plus 8. It could even look like this. 15 divided by t plus 2. It could look like this. 4 times 8 minus m plus 10. Or it could even look like y to the third power. Okay, turn your graphic organizers over to the back. And we're going to take a look at this problem here. If you start out and it looks like y times y times y, that could be written as y to the third power. right? Because y is your base, and you have y times y times y, so y to the third power. So on your graphic organizer, I want you to write the rest of this. When y equals 2, and you plug in 2 for y, you have 2 to the third power. So you have 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. And that's how you take an expression with a value, plug it in, and evaluate. So on the back of your paper, I want you to finish writing the rest of this, so that you have an example. Question, Jaden?
No.
You got it?
Yes, I got it.
Okay, so right now you're just finished writing the rest of that problem. 2 to the third power, and you plug in for y, and 2 times 2. And one more you have at the bottom of the back of your graphic organizer. For x plus 8, when x equals 3. If you plug in the 3 there for the x, you have 4 times 3 plus 8. When you evaluate, you do our multiplication, remember, order of operations? Remember how we keep talking about how we're going to use the skill again and again, and it gets a little tougher, so we need to know our skills. Okay? So 12 plus 8 equals 20. This is cool. It's exciting when you guys think math is so cool. Okay, and that's important. As Dane said, we use it every day, and we do. We use math every day. And that's what we talk about a lot. When am I going to use this? How am I going to use this? We were talking last week about a lot of different problems like babysitting or doing chores. And we can use problems like these for, let's say, if you babysat and you earned $5 an hour. And every week you had babysat different amount of hours, right? So every week you could figure it out by just 5 times x. $5 times the amount of hours you work. So if this week you work 10 hours, you would go 5 times 10. I should make $50. If next week you work 20 hours, you would go 5 times 20, and that would be $100. So you could figure out each week by just simply an expression like 5x. Okay, that's the end of the PowerPoint, so you can save those graphic organizers for your reference. Now I'm going to need 3 volunteers, and we're going to do a little vocab activity. Alex, Dawson, Mariah. Oh, one more. Piper. Okay, we're going to hold up vocab. And on your little index cards, when you see the word that describes what you have on your index card, I want you to hold your card up. Okay? Only when you see the word that matches what you have. If you have an X with a dot next to it, that stands for multiplication, not X like this. Okay? So when you see the word that matches what you have, hold it up, and we're going to check and see if everybody's on track with vocab. Okay, so let's start with Piper. Flip your cardboard and hold it up. So anybody that has terms, if you have a term, hold it up if you have terms on your card. Now remember what terms look like. It's going to be the entire part between the math operation signs. Well, Dane, hold yours up. Wyatt. Anyone else? Donalyn? Okay, now let me see this one. Okay. Is this term? No? What is this? Someone raise your hand. Oh. Constants, right? Okay, and that's one thing that gets confused a lot. Okay, let's have operations. You have math operations, hold it up. Plus, division, subtraction, addition. Everybody? Oh, multiplication. Everything? You guys see everything? That's a math operation? Yes, all right. Good job. Okay, Alex, hold up yours. Variables. Variables. So we have all letters, 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 letters. Okay, let me see your card real quick because this is another one that we get confused. This one's pointing to the 3 and the 7. But it has a variable, right? Yeah. Okay, but what's the 3 and the 7 called when it's next to a variable, Piper?
Coefficient.
Coefficient, good. That's the other one that gets very confused. Okay, so now that we did that, Mariah. Constant? Constant? Hold them up.
Oh, yeah.
Constants here, just numbers, just numbers, just numbers, just numbers. Excellent. We have all just numbers. Constants are just the numbers. And lastly, we have coefficients. Now we have the little arrows pointing to the numbers with the variables, right? Okay. All right. Good job. Thank you, helpers. Okay, you can put away your graphic organizer, and you can take out your dry erase board, and your dry erase markers, and your dry erase erasers. Everything. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of examples on the board so you're not writing anything right now. And I appreciate all of the star expected behaviors that I'm seeing. Okay, so you're just watching now. I'm going to show you a few examples, and then you're going to do a partner activity with just the person next to you. And if you're on an odd number row, just scoot over the person across the aisle. We're going to work with expressions. We're going to take a look at an expression, and then we're either going to write it in the form of the expression, or we're going to evaluate it if it has a value. So what I mean by that is, if I saw this, I am going to write that as an expression, x to the 4th. Oh, you were going to tell me? Okay. Okay, and then likewise, if I had something that looks like this, I'm going to write that as that.
4 times x to the
H.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay. 4 times h to the second power or squared, right? Because we have 4 times 2 h's, which we can write as h squared. So this is how we would write that expression, 4h squared. Light bulbs, right? Now we're thinking back to that pretest like, I got it. Okay, so if I was going to evaluate this now, sometimes we're just going to be writing it just as the expression. But other times on there, we're going to have a value for h. So if it says h equals 3, now I'm going to put 3 in for h, and I have an exponent first, right? So 3 squared is 9, and then you have 4 times 9, which is 36. So skills, exponents, order of operations, right? It's all coming back to play again and again. So that's how you would evaluate. Okay, one more. Okay, 5 plus, in parentheses, 10 minus y. If y equals 3. Okay, so someone raise your hand and tell me, what am I going to do first? What am I going to do first, Alan?
First is change the y to a 3.
Excellent. Change the y to a 3, which you just told me. And I'm going to rewrite the problem so I don't miss a step. What's the second thing I'm going to do? Think?
Do the subtract within the parentheses.
Right. And I like how he's using excellent math language, subtract within the parentheses. And last, we're going to do state and add. 5 plus 7 is 12. You guys got this. Okay, I'm going to hand out worksheets you and your partner will work with. One partner is going to have the A. The other partner is going to have the B. And so let's say it's Carrie and Zach working together. Carrie's going to show Zach the first problem and say, T times T times T, you're going to write that on your dry erase board as an expression. And then she has the answers on the back of hers. So she can check him and say, yep, you got that right. And then the same for him. He's going to go next and say, here's your first problem. You write that expression. And he has the answers on the back of his, so he can check hers. So you can check each other as you go and make sure that you got it down. I'll be walking around checking work. So if you need to work problems out, write it on your board. And when you're writing an answer, write it on your dry erase board. And leave them there throughout the whole time until you're done. Any questions? Dane?
I noticed that on that last equation, even though there's subtraction, you can do associative property.
You can. And thank you for bringing that up, because as we get to the end of chapter 3, we will be doing properties. So we'll be working on all the properties. So A and B, A and B. Okay, as soon as you get your worksheets, you guys can get started. No, it's on this. Yes. Yeah, it's the end of chapter 3. So I'll announce that. I'm going to hand these out, and then I'll announce that.
We have class right now for an hour. The Mondays we have arts.
So go ahead.
The Mondays we don't have arts. We have our classes for family.
Yeah, she told me.
Okay.
Yeah, that we're going to get her to leave. She was already, I was like,
You know, I said, and it's true, when you show up as a teacher and you think you're all set for the day, and then you realize that you're not on a day and you have an extra hour to teach, and you're like, but I said, well, don't worry, just keep doing the practice activity with the kids who stay.
and she was like, I'll get all of them.
And she's so good at adapting her skills too.
I know, she was really nervous.
I know, and I'm like, I
Go ahead and
don't
get started.
That's what I told her too. I told her.
If you need to leave, guys, listen up. If you need to leave for orchestra, it is time. So you can go ahead and head out. And everybody else is working with their partner. What are you trying to do unless your partner leaves? So you have
Trucking on ahead with the back.
Are you leaving?
About 2 hours into the lesson, 5 minutes, you know. This is my favorite activity. And when I sat down to principal, she said, now listen to what you should have done. Because you should have said, I realize this lesson is longer than 15 minutes. I'm like, just right now, and say, this isn't ending point, and tomorrow we're going to do this. And I was like, that's such a good lesson for me, that you have to
No, it's
just
short.
come on. There's no fire drill. There's no campus evacuation.
I think it's yeah. So, and you know, and they're like, it's about to go right now, come on out. I just watched Angie's student behavior. There we go. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. It's pretty tough. Happy Halloween. Pretty stressful. We bought a house on last week.
Okay, so you guys
And then the inspection decided not to proceed with it
have a
because
dry erase
it
board
wasn't
together?
finished. So we yeah. But I'll talk to you about next year maybe.
Well, I'm just doing flooring and countertop painting cabinets and everything right now, so if you need anything, let me know.
Really? What kind of board would you put in?
It's hardwood tile.
How much does that cost you? Your mind are asking square foot.
I don't know the square foot. I only know the end price because, I mean, it depends on the size of your house and all that kind of stuff.
That's why
I know, I haven't gotten that far. I mean, I feel really good about it.
Tile throughout, brand new carpets, and baseboards throughout.
I have the name of a guy. If we would have gone through him, we would have saved money because we wouldn't have gone through the company. I ditched the contractor. I was like, we can save
No,
money.
you won't go through the contractor.
Yeah, but now, after just going to Tanner Tile and saying, can we have a crew come out or whatever, now I have the guy come over for the crew and he can buy the tile cheaper than we can. So he's doing my backsplash.
Add 'em in.
Arizona, but
We get so excited, like, I think I'm just gonna add this in.
His name is Henry, and he works for them. But if you call him, you will pick up
He's like contracted through Tanner Tile.
Right.
But I buy my own tile through like Home Depot and then.
He buys the tile. He will pick what you like. He buys it at his house. So, I mean, Tanner, they don't charge us then. But you cut that contract out.
Well, we're gonna be doing kitchen, flooring for the whole house. And it's livable, it's built 99. It's not livable. It's just that it's, that 12-inch square foot tile and carpet in the wrong places and.
I mean, honestly, I feel.
New tile upstairs.
For 1 story. Yeah.
Jenny wants to tile upstairs and I'm like.
Yeah, the stairs are the most expensive too. Yeah, the stairs are.
He says it's worth it though. You're gonna be there for 15 years, that it's worth it to do that because you'll never replace them again.
Yeah, and my neighbors did it and paid a fortune, but they love it, and you're right, you don't have to. It's a lot of money.
He needs me to think about how much it would cost me to maybe 2 more sets of carpet on it. Is it worth that cost? And then not having it look dirty anymore. But
And then right away they boundary like a little piece so that you don't slip going up the steps. The tile was so green.
I'll get a hold of you when we cross that bridge. Right now, we just had the accepted offer yesterday, so we're really excited. It's been very stressful, a lot very time consuming, and having clean in my life has been such a blessing because I couldn't do all this without her. And I'm going back to the dentist tonight to have the crown last week. I got your email now today, so I've been golfing.
Congratulations, Jen.
I think.
Very happy. No, it's going to be fine. It will be, but
Right around New Year's Day is when I'll be celebrating. You should not do that because I caught my feet and then I felt me to see. Did you send us one? That's right. It's the same as the age first. Remember to write those orders.
No, sorry.
it's okay. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Is it the office?
Yeah, if you go inside and your seats are sort of like side doors, and you just kind of walk in the straight back.
Grade 5. Get it? Okay. It is hard.
And that's what I like to see is when you work, if I do each step and do it organized, then you will see each step along the way. That way, if you go to the answer wrong, you can go back and say, oh, this is the step. Like say you did the multiplication.
Really take your time.
You would know, okay, that's what I meant. So make sure you're writing your steps.
Did you just have it when you call like a contractor to come up, or what did you do? Like, what was your first step? Did you just call the contractor?
Someone who owns the furniture business, so he's a good friend of ours. And then I have another friend, she's an interior designer. We told her, like, we know what we want, and we just want to oversee our colors and things to make sure it's going to be right. So she's kind of taking us under her wing. We are going to pay her. We are going to pay her.
Just so you know it looks good, just so what you think is not, because we don't have much choice.
You know, like this house when we bought it 10 years ago, we barely had it. We could do change a curtain. I mean, we like, and our whole house is super brown, 10 different shades of brown. I swear
That's
that's
how
how
our first house was. That's how ours started out too originally. And we painted everything brown, and eventually I said, and we kind of went little by little, color and texture. I'm going to be way more inventive this time with like curtains and window covers, and we're going to do everything. So I'm a little bit nervous about that daunting project, but I just love that that work is done. That's
Oh yeah.
I'm very excited.
Oh yeah.
in general, the differentiation. I mean, is it something
I know.
that you have
So now that you see exactly how to work it, you remember in the pre-test when you were like, oh yeah, I can't believe you did this. But now it makes sense, right?
First of all, I differentiate
That was interesting. A lot of
that are by ability and certain level, and then also when you teach them something and then it's every day,
But you know what? So it was good to think that, you know what, everyone was thinking the same way. But now that you know it's like multiplication, then it's quick, it's easy to change that in your mind the right way. Okay, looks like we're all almost finished.
She does live safety several times.
No, we don't do it every day, but it's certainly something we try to do. Not every day, but sometimes. I don't know, probably it's a little more freedom, more of, I don't know, freedom to say that she can do it, maybe than
She's taking the paper back. 25. Actually, you put.
That's okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah.
I remember the directions. That is this, right on your dry erase board. I think everybody else heard that. You done? All done? Okay, you guys can erase your boards if you're finished. You got it? Feel good? Comfortable about it? Like, get to work.
Yeah, I'm sure to her.
She's really good and she's able to bounce back and say, okay, you know, like I can tell this uniform is really teacher. They probably really cry. This is what I was doing. And she just kind of looks at me and she's processing and she goes, okay. I'm like, we'll figure this out. One thing that I was noticing in the lesson is something that you don't know in the top 3 years, and this is something that hard to when you first met, when you go to teach a lesson, what kind of obstacles you're going to encounter. And she's not going to encounter this obstacle until she gets quiz. She's going to find that they have no idea what terms, constants, coefficients,
Yeah, this is introductory.
Okay, if everybody can please erase your dry erase board and put them away. Put your markers and erasers. Just put it in your desk for now. Okay, just put it in the desk because they're going to use it.
I know it's that, but something that over the years that it's really difficult for them is actually the idea of tongue. And that is an entirely different lesson to start talking about what organization based is versus identifying the responsible for these individuals and understanding the rest of the 30 years and 3 hours. The 3 hours is that's what that's her. And the third is at time estimates and it's perfectly start exactly with that. But you're right,
Okay, about 20 seconds, everybody should have your dry erase stuff put inside the desk and just a pencil out. Give you about 20 seconds, put your dry erase boards in the desk, put your markers away, your erasers away. Guys, putting our dry erase boards in the desk and the markers. Okay. Oh, boards away? Everybody's boards away? Great. Okay. We're going to alter the plan just a little bit here. Is everybody ready? Seated? Turned around? Pushed in? Listening? Okay, a little later on today, we're going to do an activity of matching again, where you go in your little envelope and you're going to take out a problem, all the problems. You're going to glue them onto your paper. You're going to work it out. You're going to evaluate. And then you'll find the answer in your envelope, and you'll be gluing that next to it. So this will be the activity that will turn in later. This will be the one that I will be grading. We'll do that later when everybody comes back together. For now, you're going to work on your own on a worksheet that I give you. And you're going to write the expression or evaluate, depending on the information that it gives you. And on the back page, there's lots of answers. You don't need all of them, but you should be able to find the answer that you came up with in this list. Okay? So once you do the work, you can check the list and make sure that all your answers are on the list somewhere. You're going to have more answers than what you need, but you can check the list to see if you got your answer to match one of the ones on the list. Okay, so once this comes out, you're working on your own. Right. Yep. So that's going to be similar to that other matching activity. Okay. Really quick before we get started, somebody raise your hand and tell me, what are we, guys, ready? Yeah. Okay, scoot up. Scoot in. Scoot in. Okay, before you get started, so we're not working quite yet. Before we get started, somebody raise your hand and tell me, what are we learning about today? Jaden.
Okay, we're learning about algebraic expression. No, algebraic expression.
Algebraic expression. And what does an algebraic expression contain within it? What does it have? Taylor. Numbers. And what are they called if it's just a number? Right. Good vocabulary. Okay, what else does it contain possibly, Dawson?
Variables.
Variables, which are?
Which are
Letters, right? Letters. Right? Sometimes you might see symbols as a variable, right? That can happen. So sometimes on big tests, like those standardized tests, you'll see symbols, and just think it's still a variable, right? What else? What else do you see, Kaden?
Coefficient.
Coefficient. Look at that word, math vocab. What is a coefficient?
It's a number and
A number that's next to a letter, right? Girls? Let's be paying attention and listening. Jaden.
term.
Term. What is a term?
A term is like it's two numbers like on the side. Can't really explain it. It's like that. Like the it's just like times 5 x like and then that and then at the end plus like 2 or something.
Okay. So are you trying to say the portion of the expression that's before or after?
Yeah, that's right.
Math operations, right? Okay. So far we talked about what we did today, and we went over the essential question. We did the PowerPoint and our graphic organizer. We did lots of vocab, so I think we're going to have that vocab down. We did our partner activity with the expressions, so now you're going to be doing basically the matching, but just on your worksheet, and later we'll do the matching all together.
On like a test, does it have to tell you how much the variables were?
Well, if it doesn't, and it was something like this, you would just write it. You would just write that expression. So sometimes it won't. It might say like,
if it was a big equation like you see that, what if it didn't tell you how much the y was?
then there's not much you could do, right?
But what if it showed you the answer? You have to figure out how much it was worth.
You're right. And problems can do that. They could give you an answer, and you have to work backwards, right? So we'll do some of that. Once you have a portion of it, you can figure out the other, right? If you work backwards. And that happens a lot on tests. So that's a good thing to bring up, Jason.
So write it.
Right.
Just want to make sure you write it.
Yes. On this one, yes. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, so go ahead and work on your worksheet. And now you're just working by yourself. what we'll work on over the next day, tomorrow. So if you'd like a challenge, bring your worksheet up and take the challenge.
That's reality. We're supposed to teach on Halloween. That's our reality.
I mean, I might.
Make sure your name's on. So again, guys, listen really quick. Once you're done, put your name on it and bring it up here. If you want a challenge to work on for the last few minutes, I have a challenge.
I did like feeling that maybe Jessica would handle it this way, this idea of like, because you're like, and there's not, tomorrow there's a lesson.
Well, it's any difference than your evaluators. I've had different types of evaluators over the years where they want to see you at your best. Like, this is your chance to grow. This is your chance to shine. And I've had some evaluators who say, please